2, 1.
Good evening, commissioners. Before the meeting's called to order, I'd like to point out neither the chair nor the vice chair are present. So we'll need a vote to appoint an acting chair for this evening's meeting.
I will move to appoint Commissioner Sayasan as the temporary chair.
I will second.
Do we have a mo-
Take a vote on that.
Yes,
Aye.
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 With that, I'll turn the meeting over to acting Chair Sayasan.
Okay, thank you. Staff, can we call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Here.
Commissioner Gooding,
Here.
Commissioner Sayasan.
Here.
The record show Commissioners Lau and Funke are absent.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
can you take a roll call?
Commissioner Gooding,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
Commissioner Sayasan.
Aye. Next is the consent calendar. If there's anyone who would like to remove an item from the consent calendar, please do so now. Staff, will you set the timer for that? Do any of the commissioners, would any of the commissioners would like to remove an item while we're waiting?
None here.
Okay.
Ten seconds. All right, 30 seconds has elapsed and there is no one here.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, take a roll.
Commissioner Gooding,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Sayasan.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is oral communications. If there's anyone who would like to address the commission about an item that's not on tonight's agenda, please do so. They can call in, correct? Okay, or yeah, we have the information up there.
Twenty seconds. All right, 1 minute has elapsed and there's no one wishing to comment.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any written communications?
None, since those that were provided to the commission in advance of this evening's meeting. I believe the only item was a notification of a training session, some planning commissioner workshops scheduled for later in the year.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have no old business, so we'll turn to new business. And the first item is a public hearing concerning 11-B Industrial Way, interim use permit 2022-UP-8, M-1 Manufacturing District, extension of interim use permit UP-2-16 to continue the use of an approximately 2-acre area of the Baylands former rail yard at the corner of Bayshore Boulevard and Industrial Way as a contractor storage yard for up to 5 years, and finding that this project is categorically exempt from the environment review under CEQA guidelines section 15301. Sam Koda is the applicant. Oyster Point Properties, Inc. Baylands Development, Inc. is the owner. Staff, may we have the report?
Thank you, Chair. As introduced, this item is for an interim use permit to continue the use of a contractor storage and staging yard on an approximately 2-acre portion of land located within the Baylands sub-area immediately northeast of the Bayshore Boulevard and Industrial Way intersection, or 11B Industrial Way, for a period of up to 5 years. An interim use permit is required for any use to operate within the Baylands sub-area, and Brisbane Municipal Code Chapter 17.41 establishes regulations for the approval and control of interim uses in the Baylands sub-area. The applicant's request is to continue the existing interim use with no change to the previous interim use permit approval for a contractor storage and staging yard at this location in 2016. The applicant's request would represent a continuation of the historic use within this area of the Baylands for outdoor storage. In addition to its former use as a rail yard in the early to mid 1900s, an interim use permit was approved in 2001 for outdoor storage of statuary, with follow-on interim use permits granted in 2003, 2006, and 2011. In 2016, an interim use permit was approved to allow a contractor storage yard with greater flexibility that would not be specific to a particular tenant. Originally 3 sub-yards in 2016, there are now 6 contractor yards and a common access area on the site, as shown on the plot plan displayed in the middle. The image on the left shows the site as used for statuary storage in 2011, and the image on the right shows the site as it is today. The perimeter of the yard is fenced, and primary hours of activity at the site since 2016 have generally been during the daytime between 5 a.m. and 7 p.m., but some equipment and material drop-off and pickup activities have occurred before dawn or after dusk, depending on the individual contractor's schedules. Vehicle access to the site from Industrial Way is from Industrial Way via Bayshore Boulevard, which provides north and southbound access to Highway 101. There are 4 ingress and egress gates serving the site from Industrial Way with adequate clearance to accommodate contractor operations. And presently, there are on average about 12 to 20 contractor employees making about 40 trips to the site daily. During business hours, trucks will primarily be off-site providing service to customers, though not all equipment and vehicles will be in use. Some are backup and others are transported to another location to be cleaned or to undergo preventative maintenance. Parking for employees is to be provided once the company vehicles are moved to begin their service day. All vehicles and equipment maintenance are conducted off-site. Contractors perform daily site inspection of yard space for spills and drips, and all vehicles are fueled off-site. Additionally, there are no exterior light fixtures or permanent structures, and hazardous material storage and/or storage of construction waste product is prohibited. The applicant proposes to continue the current and historical use of the site as a construction storage and staging yard for up to 5 years. The application would not expand the current size of the yard nor eliminate any of the previous conditions of approval applied in 2016. More specific details on the current use of the individual yards and the types of vehicles and equipment currently stored are provided in Attachment C of the agenda report. While these details have been provided for the Commission to gain an understanding of the use, the request is not to limit the number or types of vehicles and equipment to those listed in that description, but rather to allow for any number of storage uses on site, collectively governed by performance standards contained within the permit's conditions of approval. There are 6 required findings set forth in Brisbane Municipal Code Section 17.41.060. The proposal complies with each finding as summarized. 1, the site is comprised of a portion of the vacant lands immediately northeast of the Industrial Way and Bayshore Boulevard intersection. The surrounding uses include the light industrial and manufacturing uses along Industrial Way to the south, Lazari Fuel to the north, and Bayshore Boulevard and PG&E's Martin Substation to the west. The roundhouse is located to the northeast of the proposed storage yard and would not be affected by the proposed use. The site is separated from the residential population centers, with the nearest Brisbane residential use approximately 4/10 of a mile to the southwest. Residential uses to the west in Daly City are approximately 2/10 of a mile away. 2, no disturbance of underlying soil is proposed, and the use involves no permanent structures. It is a temporary use with negligible or no permanent effects on the environment. Also, with the recommended conditions of approval, No staging of soils or other waste materials that could create dust or leach materials into the subsurface would be allowed at the site. 3, the application does not include any permanent structures, nor would it otherwise alter the land. Therefore, redevelopment would not be obstructed. 4, the applicant will be required to bring power to the site for lighting, if necessary, based on further review by the police department. Electrical connections would be available from Bayshore Boulevard or Industrial Way. 5, the use provides a benefit to the public in supporting the local contracting trades, which may provide construction services to the community. And 6, a condition of approval is included that each tenant shall provide the community development director with a program to provide outreach to the local community to the extent reasonable. This was a requirement in 2016, and each current tenant has provided a letter demonstrating compliance with this condition of approval. In closing, this application has been routed to the applicable city departments, including Public Works, Police, Fire, and City Attorney. It was also transmitted to the Regional Water Quality Control Board and the San Mateo County Environmental Health Department. Conditions of approval addressing potential stormwater discharges, material storage, and indemnification, among others, have been added or modified based on the comments received. Mandatory conditions of approval listed in Brisbane Municipal Code Section 17.41.070 are also included in the draft conditions of approval. This concludes staff's presentation with a recommendation of approval of interim use permit 2022-UP-8 by adoption of the attached resolution.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have questions for staff? Commissioner Gooding?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Patel?
No.
I don't have any questions either. Thank you for the presentation. So I will now open up the public hearing. Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening, Commissioners. Luis Quadra, Berg Davis Public Affairs. I'm here on behalf of Baylands Development, Inc. If you just allow me a moment to add to staff's comments, quite frankly, I'm embarrassed to be before you this evening with an expired permit. This is a matter we took very seriously when it was brought to our attention that we had a few permits that had lapsed. We immediately conducted an internal audit, and we've been working very closely with staff to ensure that we have the proper protocols in place to ensure that we do not have any other lapsed permits. So our apologies, and I can guarantee you that this will be the last time we're before you with a permit that has expired. Thank you, and I'm available to respond to any questions.
Can I, just a
Yes.
quick question.
Yes.
So have you had any complaints or issues, since you've been, using, the property?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
I mean, under your current use permit, has there been any issues with
There was a violation.
mhm.
That violation was January 9th, and it was for due to improper storage of tires and soil. And that violation was rectified on January 20th. And that's been the only concern that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the commissioners have a question?
No, thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll now take any comments from the public.
One minute.
Okay. And I'll just note there's no one here. So, yeah, so if there's no one that calls in, then we'll move on.
15 seconds. All right, 2 minutes has elapsed and there's no one wishing to speak.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, take a roll call.
Commissioner Gooding,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
Commissioner Sayason.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Okay, let's have a discussion. Do any of the commissioners want to start?
I have no comments.
I would just say for the public that hasn't really looked at the actual attachment A, one of the concerns I had was that there would be some sort of toxic substances or related objects that would be stored on the property, but as part of what's in attachment A and what we're improving it's not allowed. And so if that was a concern to anyone in the public, it's part of the attachments. We didn't talk about it, but that's because it's part of the permit. And so
Okay.
with that, I have nothing else to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Patel. I have no comments either, so I'll entertain a motion.
I would move to approve interim use permit 2022-UP-8.
I'll second.
Okay, can we take roll?
Commissioner Gooding,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
Commissioner Sayason.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes. Do I read the appeals process now?
Do that now.
We could do it after the second one.
The second one, okay. Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda is a public hearing concerning 600 Tunnel Avenue interim use permit 2022-UP-6. It's a C-1 district interim use permit to continue Golden State Lumber's storage of lumber on a vacant approximately 2-acre portion of the Baylands, and finding that this project is category exempt from environmental review under CEQA guidelines section 15301. Seth Nobman is the applicant and Oyster Point Properties, Inc., Baylands Development, Inc. are the owners. Staff, may we have the presentation?
Yes, thank you. Good to be with you live tonight after quite a while. The applicant requests approval of an interim use permit for a 5-year term to allow continued storage of lumber by Golden State Lumber at 600 Tunnel Avenue. This is in support of their main lumber yard, which is located across the street at 601 Tunnel Avenue. In 1980, Sierra Point Lumber, which later became known as Golden State Lumber, was granted a use permit for 601 Tunnel Avenue as a lumber yard, and that use is continued to this day. At that time, use permits on the Baylands did not have automatic term limits to them, so that use remains in effect. The site of this current application at 600 Tunnel Avenue was not included in the original use permit for storage of lumber. It was apparently originally anticipated that lumber would be delivered via rail line spur that comes from the Caltrain rail corridor directly to 600 Tunnel Avenue and then shuttled across the street to their main yard. The entrances to Golden State's main yard and the subject yard are aligned on either side of Tunnel Avenue, so lumber is shuttled directly across the street by forklift. The use evolved over the years to not only include movement of lumber from the rail spur, but also to include storage of lumber and some parking. The lumber storage area is fenced. Also, the outside the fenced area along the eastern edge of the site is a partially paved parking area that they've been also using. And this is in addition to parking that's provided at their main yard. In 2010, the Planning Commission granted an interim use permit to allow lumber storage and parking use to continue at 600 Tunnel Avenue, and that interim use permit has since expired. The current application is to allow the use to continue. For security during business hours, the site is monitored by Golden State employees, and after hours, its security is provided by a third-party company. No lighting is provided at the site. The current request would continue the use of the yard essentially unchanged. Golden State Lumber has indicated that in coordination with the city engineer, a truck crossing sign was recently placed on the northbound Tunnel Ave approach to the site as a traffic safety measure. A condition of approval has been suggested by staff to have a second sign added for southbound traffic as well. Also, as a maintenance item in response to dust control questions raised by staff, Golden State Lumber has indicated that they will be undertaking dust control measures during the dry season from May through October, utilizing a water truck. They have also proposed to spread asphalt chips on the site to further control dust if needed. A condition of approval is included in the draft resolution for a dust control plan to be provided to the city engineer. And so those details would be worked out with the city engineer. There are 6 findings that the Planning Commission needs to make for approval of the requested use permit, and the application would meet all of the findings. These were detailed in the written agenda report and the draft resolution, and I won't repeat all those here. Finally, this application was provided to North County Fire Authority, Public Works, Police Department, County Health, Regional Water Quality Control Board, and Caltrain JPB. And no comments or concerns were raised. In closing, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve interim use permit 2022 UP 6 via adoption of the resolution. If you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Commissioner Patel, do you have any questions?
No.
Commissioner Gooding?
Just one about the dust control issue, and I may have missed it in the materials, but to the extent that dust control requires water use, what are the details of how much they have to use water and when?
So they have proposed to water 3 times a day with a water truck. The details essentially that's what they proposed. Planning staff ran this by the city engineer, and he suggested essentially that they provide him with a dust maintenance plan. And so those details might be refined, but that's what they have proposed.
Okay, so the TBD basically on that issue.
Correct.
It seems to me that if the dust is not an issue or not a problem, let's not make them use precious water. But
Right.
it sounds like that'll be visited by the city engineer on that basis.
And I think that may have been part of the thinking, is to not have it so prescriptive as a condition of approval, but allow the city engineer to keep tabs on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will now open up the public hearing. Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening, Commission. Thank you, Ken. My name is Seth Knobman with Golden State Lumber. Golden State has been in the city of Brisbane since 1980, as Ken mentioned, formerly Sierra Point. We're here tonight for extension of our use permit. If there's any questions, Andy, our Vice President of Operations, is here for any operation questions. And I'm here as well for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any of the commissioners have a question? No.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any questions either, but so we'll open up for any public comments. So I don't see anyone in the audience, so we'll wait to see if anybody calls in.
Thirty seconds. And if you wish to speak from Zoom, please raise your hand. 15-second warning. There are no members of the public wishing to speak.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Take roll.
Commissioner Gooding?
Aye.
Commissioner Patel?
Aye.
Commissioner Saison?
Aye, motion passes. Okay, discussion. Anyone have any comments?
No
No?
comments, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, I think it's pretty clear cut then. Can someone want to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the application for the interim use permit with conditions suggested in the staff report.
Second.
Can we call the roll?
Commissioner Gooding?
Aye.
Commissioner Patel?
Aye.
Commissioner Saison?
Aye, motion passes. I will now read the appeals process. Anyone may appeal the action of the Planning Commission to the City Council, except where specified otherwise. Appeal shall be filed with the city clerk not later than 15 calendar days following the Planning Commission's decision. Exceptions to the 15-day filing period include the following. Appeal shall be filed with city clerk within 6 calendar days of the Planning Commission's actions for use permits and variances and 10 calendar days for tentative maps and advertising sign application. An application form and fee is required to make a formal appeal. Okay, I'll move on to the next item. Staff, is there any items you'd like to bring up?
Just again, as I noted before in written correspondence, you should have received an invitation for a planning commissioner workshop that's being sponsored by 21 Elements, which is our countywide consortium. It's going to be a county-based meeting. I think it's an opportunity for you to learn from some of your peers throughout the county and also get a shared understanding of some of the issues we all kind of deal with. Housing, I think, is one of the topics they want to discuss in the May workshop. So I'd encourage you to attend if you can. You can sign up on your own. There's no fee. So feel free to register yourself and encourage you to attend if you can. Just for FYI, city did receive our round of our comments on our resubmitted housing element late last week. So we're working on further revisions. The letter was not, it wasn't too harmful. We're not quite there yet. So we're still working on clarifying some additional items. And I can't think of anything else. Am I missing anything? So that's all I have tonight.
Just
Okay,
real
thank you.
quick, that the notice about the elements thing did not make it into my phone. Do you have the date handy?
I believe it was the.
It is
31st.
May 31st.
Thank you.
It's from 6 to 7:30
Thank you.
in San Mateo.
Great.
And they do provide dinner. So it's-
I recall.
Okay, thank you. Next is items initiated by the commission. Is there anyone who would like to speak up or say anything? Have any issues?
No.
No. Okay, I guess that's it for the evening. I will adjourn our meeting until the regular one of April 27, 2023. Thank you.